The wind howled like knives cutting into flesh. Waves over 20 feet high pounded the side of the boat like hammers. A group of fishermen struggled in the ocean off the coast of Maine, so cold it could freeze the soul. Not gold or treasure, they hunt bizarre creatures lurking deep in the North Atlantic, giant lobsters. $850,000 for a full catch of shrimp, but in return, the price to pay could be a life. In the middle of that cold water, a question arose. Why do they still go out to sea, risking everything just to pull a lobster up from hell? Greed, tradition, or is the ocean ingrained in the blood of Maine people? Granddiscover, Maine lobsters, deadliest catch. Why fishermen risk death for $850,000 of giant lobsters? Off the coast of the northeastern U.S. state of Maine, the chilly waves of the North Atlantic have nurtured one of the oldest and most lucrative maritime economies on the planet. For more than 2 centuries, the Maine lobster, with its copper-red shell and giant claws, has been an American icon. From a poor fisherman's food in the 19th century, the lobster has grown into the ocean's red gold, bringing in more than $700 million per year, accounting for more than 80% of the state's total seafood value. But behind those flashy numbers is a never-ending race. Every fishing season, thousands of fishermen risk their lives in sub-zero waters to haul up hundreds of pounds of pots. Inside, the giant lobsters, weighing in at more than 10 or 20 pounds, are the real treasure. They are so rare that they make up less than 1% of the total catch, yet high-end restaurants in New York, Tokyo, and Hong Kong pay thousands of dollars for each one. A successful hunting campaign can bring $850,000, enough to feed an entire coastal community through a harsh winter. Marine biologists warn that hunting giant individuals, which are the most mature and most prolific breeders, means depriving the entire population of its ability to reproduce. Each captured female can carry hundreds of thousands of unhatched eggs. But for fishermen struggling to pay boat loans, fuel costs, and limited quotas, the concept of sustainability is sometimes a luxury. While the mainland slept in the light of the lights, they set sail before dawn, amidst the mist and the roar of the engines like wild animals. No audience, no spotlights, just people and the sea. In the middle of winter, off the coast of Maine, where winds scream like metal in your face and waves more than 20 feet high crash against your boat, lobster fishermen begin their workday before the sun even comes up. At temperatures just a few degrees above freezing, everything on deck can become a deadly weapon. Cables, iron hooks, wooden crates, all slippery, cold, and ready to take a life if someone is careless. The roar of the engine mingled with the sound of the waves, interspersed with the screech of the winch as the 100-pound pot lobster was pulled up from the depths. There was no time to fear. There was no room for error. It was all work and survival. Every lobster pot is a gamble. Sometimes it's empty. Sometimes it's filled with lobsters weighing more than 10 pounds. The kind that restaurants will pay thousands of dollars for. But to pull that haul, they had to drop hundreds of pots in wind, ice, and thick fog. Many fishermen said they lost feeling in their hands after the first few hours, having to pound their hands on the deck to get the blood circulating. Some suffered frostbite, and others lost fingers to the cables. But they keep going, because in Maine, no one gets paid a monthly salary, only for the lobsters they catch. In an industry that brings in hundreds of millions of dollars a year, most fishermen still live precariously. They have no stable insurance, no sick leave, and many pay their own medical bills if they get into trouble. When a ship sinks, the story rarely makes the news. For the public, lobster is a luxury, not a battle for survival. Competition is fierce, quotas are tight, fuel prices are rising, and fishing grounds are shrinking. Some fishermen are risking their lives crossing the border into Canadian waters to seek their fortune, and risk both their freedom and their fortune. Getting caught, fined, or losing their pot. But for them, it is not a crime, but the only way to feed their families. There are also harsh criticisms that they are destroying the environment, that greed makes them forget the limits. But the question is, when the sea is their only livelihood, what other choice do they have? Offshore, the cold wind cut through the skin, each wave like a stone tablet standing straight up in front of the ship's bow. Their arms trembled with cold, but their eyes remained fixed on the water surface where the pot was being pulled up from the bottom 300 feet deep. If there is a full catch of lobster inside, the joy is short-lived. If it is empty, they drop it back down and wait patiently like many generations before. For them, lobster fishing is more than just a job. It is a survival instinct ingrained in their blood, and in that cold ocean, the boundary between life and death as thin as a thread. After many days drifting in the ice and snow, the ship finally turned toward shore. The deck was covered with wooden crates containing live lobsters, creatures that glistened with a reddish copper color, moving even more slowly under the cold water. But their journey doesn't end here. From deck to dinner table is a sophisticated industrial chain where every minute, every degree Celsius can determine thousands of dollars.
Yeah, good size too.
As soon as the ship docked, the lobster was weighed, sorted, and put into the circulating saltwater tank, simulating the temperature and salinity of the Maine Ocean. A continuous oxygen system is pumped in to keep them alive for days, sometimes weeks, until they are shipped. Some major ports are also equipped mobile refrigerated container. The temperature is maintained at 2 to 3 degrees Celsius to ensure that the lobsters do not fall into a state of thermal shock, a factor that causes them to die and lose their value immediately. Transport companies use portable saltwater tank and circulating air pump system to keep the lobsters hibernating during their journey of thousands of kilometers. Temperatures are allowed to fluctuate only within a frighteningly narrow range. A few degrees higher and they die, a little lower and the meat freezes and spoils. The man who goes out to sea risks his life, said one fisherman, while the man who sits in the office counts money. That is it, the bitterest paradox of the American lobster industry, a system that runs smoothly, precisely like clockwork. But behind it are people shivering in the ice, the people who keep the ocean's red gold still flowing through the veins of the global economy. From the cold, wet decks of ships off the coast of Maine, the lobsters that survived the harsh journey began to enter a completely different world. Restaurant lights, glasses of wine, and elegant diners. A lobster can be sold for 10 times its value just hours after leaving the sea. Chefs call it culinary quintessence, but to many, it is symbol of economic injustice, where fishermen earn a few $100s, while restaurant chains and traders earn millions. A lobster can be sold for 10 times its value just hours after leaving the sea. Chefs call it culinary quintessence, but to many, it is symbol of economic injustice, where fishermen earn a few $100s, while restaurant chains and traders earn millions. In this game of luxury, the ocean is just the first link in the profit chain. Each lobster, from the moment it is pulled up, packaged, and flown halfway around the world, carries with it the question, is this an achievement of humankind or a testament to bottomless greed? But while the world is still fascinated by that expensive dish, underwater off the coast of Maine, something is changing. The ocean water warmed, the reefs lost their algae, and lobsters began migrating north, where it was colder, deeper, and beyond human reach. Catches are down, costs are up, and once wealthy fishermen are now struggling to survive. Scientists warn, if temperatures continue to rise, Maine could lose more than 70% of lobster stocks in the next 30 years. As dawn broke over the Maine coast, the boats quietly left port. The waves were still rough, the wind still cold, and the fishermen continued their journeys, knowing each trip could be their last. The sea is neither treasure nor enemy. It only returns what we send. If you want to continue exploring real stories where profit, survival, and nature collide most violently, subscribe to Grand Discover and join us back in the ocean, where every wave has a story to tell.